Just make sure you guys are prepared.
Yes.
We need a metronome. Keep us in time.
It's getting even more and more pro every day.
It's quite amazing.
Ask not what your voice can do for you.
Ooh, all right. Welcome, everyone, to the Haas Boys podcast. All things Formula One American accent. My name is Max. I got someone who's hyped as hell on my left, Parker.
What's up, Max?
Parker is working up a sweat in the booth here.
Let's go.
He is.
And then on my right, we got Mike.
Hey.
On my...
Michael.
Yeah, welcome. We're stoked about a lot of things happening. We have a great week coming up on us. On this episode today, we want to talk about a little F1 news.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
We want to talk about the Miami Grand Prix.
Oh, baby.
And then we want to talk about like 1-2 finishes in Formula One. So let's see if we can get through it.
Yeah, we got some interesting info on that.
Nice. That only we have.
Yes.
We found it deep in the Ark of the Covenant.
Where no one has ever researched before.
Only Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford and Nick Cage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's on the back.
Do we trust him, though?
It's
You
on
know-
the back of the Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, I trust him.
Yeah.
I trust him.
Do we trust him? We are way off the rails with our references.
We just went through 15 movies in 10 seconds.
But Formula One news. Mike, do you want to tell us your Formula One news that you were getting into it today? I would, but I can't say this guy's name for the life of me.
No, and you give it a shot. Tell me a little more about what you know about him.
Well,
Let's hear
let's
it.
just say the guy's name first. Pietris?
Oscar Piastri.
Oscar Piastri.
There you
Okay,
go.
what do
Got
we?
it done.
Oscar Piastri Fittipaldi. Right?
Max has had a little bit of a tough time keeping this one straight, but yeah.
Yeah. I just
Oscar.
got Hamilton down. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Foreign names
Yeah.
here. Can't we get like a Johnson in this sport?
Johnson.
Zach Brown is the only one who I can stand to say.
Yeah. Us
We're-
too.
We're getting so cultured. We're getting so cultured.
But what's shoot? What is Oscar Piastris?
Oscar Piastri. There you go.
Piastri.
Getting closer.
Just a quick note on our show notes for our list of things that we're going to be talking about in this episode. The bullet point for this part of the show just says, written by Max, just says Pietro.
Honestly,
It's so genuine.
I have
It's so
already forgotten
genuine.
his name. Piastris? Oscar Piastris. Good thing he's not driving for Haas,
No, yeah.
and he never will.
And that's what it sounds like. So
Okay.
the saucy news of the week for Oscar Pietro
Fittipaldi.
Fittipaldi. Oscar Piastri has, again, to kind of link to something we were talking about last week, we kind of discussed billionaire boys, the opportunity to get a seat in F1 for Oscar Piastri in comparison to like Mick, some of those details. Well, through the grapevine, appears that in the F1 paddock, the rumor is that Oscar Piastri is going to be joining Williams next season.
Ooh, and
That would be, in my opinion, targeted at Nicholas Latifi.
why?
Which
Give
makes a
me
lot of sense.
One reason for each race why he would
Why
be
he
out.
would ever leave the sport.
Nicholas Red Flag Latifi. Why would we want him? It appears as though that would be the way that they're going with that. I would very, very highly doubt that they're going to replace Albon after the success that they've seen with him already, and the amount of mountains of paperwork for Albon to be able to wear a Red Bull helmet while driving a Mercedes-powered car. So I think that deal is pretty in stone at the moment, and they've done a lot to make that happen. And I don't think they would undo it for Piastri. But where we have seen quite a lot of money go out the window with Latifi this year already, just a few races, I think it's safe to assume.
Interesting. How long has Latifi been in the sport?
He's only been in there since 2020.
Oh.
So he's only been in for a couple of years.
Daddy's only been paying the bills since 2020.
Yeah.
We were talking about this last week, that he was going to maybe take Mick's seat
That was the question that was submitted.
if Alonso didn't leave. And now this is a way for him to get into a seat without Alonso leaving.
Correct.
Yeah. So what is that? So how does that shift things around for Haas?
Well, for Haas, it's going to pretty much remain as it is in my eyes. And again,
With kind of nobody gunning for Mick's seat at the moment.
mean, anyone and everyone is.
Sure.
But I do think that there is a lot more value in being patient with Mick. And again, I think we've talked about this a lot. It's only a matter of time before we start to see the results. And even Kevin's had his back.
So it makes sense to not really have somebody totally lined up like Oscar, as we've had.
And where Ferrari is going to have some of that say as well, where the Haas team is sort of a feeder for Ferrari. I do think that there's some complicated mess there where Piastri is a Alpine driver.
In other news, this is big news, and I think it's very exciting.
The biggest news.
Yeah.
Porsche and Audi officially have said they're joining Formula One.
Porsche.
And that car looks sweet. A little sample livery released and looks great.
So it is official.
It is, it appears as though that was the official announcement.
Okay.
It was a very roundabout, but yes.
We've talked about it before, and it's always been like they've teased it before and they never do it.
So when did that come out?
That was announced today.
So today it was announced that Porsche and Audi together will be launching an F1 team starting in 2026.
Yeah,
It also sounded like they're providing power units.
correct.
So are they going to have their own team? And are they providing power units to other teams?
So this point is what is not announced. And one of the things that you'll notice is that this news was kind of broken through motorsport outlets and not like through F1's Instagram. Where I think you're going to see the official announcement from Porsche and Audi is when deals are solidified. So we know that in the back and in the rumor rooms of the paddock that McLaren has been speaking to Audi as a potential power unit. But Audi has expressed buying McLaren outright and acquiring that team,
Wow.
which is a very, very bold move, especially to try to take a team as iconic and as historic as McLaren out of the sport, essentially,
Yeah.
to create an Audi team.
They could, in theory, just add a new team. Because how many teams can you have on the grid?
Right now, there are 10 teams, but there is no rule currently that
No
says that
max.
there couldn't be more.
Because there's been more in the past.
Correct.
Interesting.
But on top of that, the other rumor that has been very loud, and I'm sure we have discussed, and if we haven't, Porsche being linked to Red Bull as their future supplier for power units.
Okay.
And so since Honda is no longer with the sport, but they are, and there's this weird relationship that's kind of an open relationship between Honda and Red Bull.
Kind of like a Will Smith, Jada.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're like, they're seeing other people.
That's the only
and-
context I have for that.
Yeah, well, actually, I think that's a good one. But yeah, so like Red Bull is in a weird open relationship, but they definitely are exploring themselves with Porsche, and I think that's going to be an amazing fit. For those of you listening that don't know this about me, I'm a diehard Porsche guy, and so this is something that I am really excited.
Yeah, this
about.
is
Here
really
in the
cool.
studio, you have your own little big giant Porsche emblem up on the wall.
Yeah, that's true. I forget
Yeah.
that it's there.
Yeah, it's rad.
No, you don't.
It's a staple piece.
We don't see a big old Kia emblem up on the wall. It's
That's at my house.
just diehard Kia fan.
I'm a diehard Kia guy.
I also don't hate on Kia these days. They're not the
I
worst
just
anymore.
saw Kia at the gas station. I'm just amazed by Kia.
They've really turned a corner.
How many years before Kia has an F1 team?
You know, it's really just up to them. though.
You know, and let's leave it up to them.
Well, besides Kia, can we speculate
else is
what
there?
other supercar companies need to be in Formula One? Kia, Lamborghini,
Yeah.
Bugatti,
Bugatti,
Pagani.
Lincoln.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
I don't hear a difference. Do you?
there has been rumor of a Ford return. So Ford at one point provided power units.
I just don't want that.
But that's because you don't know one thing, my friend. And it is a very
I know everything.
well. Let me learn you something, my friend.
Okay.
So here's a little factoid.
Mm-hmm.
Ford in Europe is very different to Ford in the U.S.
Yeah.
and is very motorsport driven, always has been. And so they're deeply rooted in rally. They're deeply rooted in Cosworth, and Ford and Cosworth work together to develop a lot of cars. Lotus worked together with Ford to build some cars.
Know that.
And so through the 70s, 80s, and even, off and on through some other eras, Ford has been a part of Formula One. And so, to see them return to motorsport in that kind of way would be really cool. I think a lot of people would really enjoy that as well, because they do. It's always been kind of odd. And if you've seen Ford versus Ferrari, a lot of it was meant to kind of stick it to Enzo.
That did not paint Ford very well either.
No, but the relationship that went south between Ferrari and Ford is basically what created that rivalry.
Yeah.
And that rivalry, ran right through into F1 as well. So, but Porsche, this wouldn't be their first go in the sport, and neither would Audi. So this is a return.
They've had Formula One cars before. Cool. Yep. That's rad. It'd be exciting. I'm excited for that.
It'd be really, honestly, great for the sport.
Any more people in the sport makes it funner.
Yeah. More engine suppliers would be interesting.
Huge.
Yeah. All right, well, shifting gears slightly, let's start talking about the Miami GP, because that's coming up this week, race week. But before we do, let's break down the current Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship points, see who's leading each one. If you're new to the sport, there are 2 championships that happen during the year. One is the drivers, so the actual drivers and how many points they get based on their finish in each race. And then the other one is the actual constructor of the car or the team, and again, where they finish out in the race.
Let's get after it. So for 2022 constructors, we're led by Ferrari with drivers Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Following them, we've got Red Bull with Max and Sergio
Perez.
And third, we have Mercedes with Hamilton and Russell.
And that would be what we consider the World Constructor Championship. So when you hear an acronym, and you might see it online, when you see WCC, they're referring to World Constructors Championship.
It's Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes in that order right now.
Yeah.
Correct. But it is anybody's game still, in my opinion. When referring to constructors, one of the things that's really interesting is that each team, they all have 2 cars. So this is what makes up the 20 on the grid. But the constructors' points are very dependent on how each driver does. So where the Drivers' Championship is coming down to just sole individuals who are racing each other on track, and then you get a champion out of who does the best and finishes the best.
Yeah.
This is a team effort. This is a genuine team effort.
Yeah.
And so you have to have a supportive number 2 or drivers who are both equals that are doing a great job to be able to win this.
I don't know. Can you give us just a really brief run through of when we started getting 2 championships in one series and why there is a Constructors' Championship?
Well, essentially, they wanted to justify the cost for a manufacturer being involved.
Gotcha.
And why they might provide more than one car.
Gotcha.
And so by winning the Constructors' Championship, there was a huge value in them and being able to prove their car, not just the driver.
When you hear us talking about the championship, we're talking about the Drivers' Championship.
For sure.
When we're talking about points, we're talking about points that are assigned to the drivers. But like Max said, there's points in each race that are going to the team, and there's points in each race that are going to the driver.
And what are the drivers at right now?
So top 3, we've got Charles Leclerc.
Perfect.
At Ferrari, number 1, with 86 points.
Okay.
Second up, we've got Max in number 2 with Red Bull at 59 points. Number 3, Sergio with 54 points at Red Bull. George Russell at Mercedes with 49. And then Carlos with Ferrari at 38. And we'll just go down to 7th. We got Lando at McLaren at 35. And then Lewis with Mercedes at 28, followed up by Valtteri at number 8 with 24 in Alfa Romeo. So a really different standings list than we've seen in a lot of years because, again, for anybody who's maybe a little bit new, those 2 guys, Lewis and Valtteri, who are 7 and 8, have led the Drivers' Championships pretty consistently, or at least been top 3 for a lot of years.
Almost annoyingly consistently.
So this is a very different lineup.
So Charles, little Chucky Leclerc, has a big gap right now.
Right.
But that could decrease a lot just this weekend.
Yeah,
25-point lead.
How much is a first place win given?
25 points.
Oh, so if Max potentially gets first, if Chucky Leclerc hits a wall and is out, then they're almost neck and neck, almost
Yeah.
Dead even.
crazy.
And that puts a George and a Sergio in striking distance as well.
Yeah, and there's some the elements that are really interesting about this as well is that because it's the beginning of the season, it's anyone's game. This is definitely the time of the year where you're going to see the most reliability problems, especially for a new rule package, and the world could turn on its head. Ferrari could absolutely start showing reliability issues. This could turn around in an ugly way pretty fast.
Sure.
But even just to put it in perspective, for the first, race and a half of the season, Haas was third in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's still up in the air. And again, just to even just talk about drivers really fast, Drivers' Championship, Kevin Magnussen is 10th. We do have a Haas driver in the top 10 in points, which is something that has been a while.
He's going to stay there. He's going to stay there.
Absolutely.
So going into the Miami Grand Prix race week, first time Miami has been ever on the schedule. Are we stoked? You guys' thoughts? What's going on with Miami?
So stoked.
I
So
mean-
fun to see a new race on a new track in a new city. It's really exciting.
Yeah, I literally can't wait. I have no expectation right now. You know, the drivers have said that, you know, there's been a lot of noise around, oh, there's a long straightaway, and oh my gosh, you know. But a lot of the drivers have said in the simulator that the track seems really fun.
Cool.
And that we can expect to see a decent race. So
Cool. You know what's really fun is the fake little ocean and yacht
gosh.
club that they built.
That is cool. My gosh, that's cool.
yeah,
I just couldn't believe that. That kind of popped up over the weekend.
nothing says America like a fake body of water.
Yeah, I watched a little local Miami news blurb about the race. And in addition to that, the fake water, there does go by the waterway a little bit. And there will be a place where there will be yachts parked,
Really?
like Monaco.
Really?
Yeah, I was watching this local news segment, and this is just to illustrate how far out of touch with this sport America is.
Yeah.
The newscaster was like, the newscaster's like, and they're doing this and this, and they're doing it right. We're driving right past the tennis courts and da-da-da. And as a nod to the infamous Monaco race, yacht owners will be able to pull in and watch the race from their yachts. And I'm like, infamous? Like, what's infamous about Monaco?
It's evil.
It's
It has claimed thousands of lives.
It's just like insinuating there's this dark history.
That's amazing. It's so weird that whoever organized and designed this, the track is rad, but the spots around it, that fake thing was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
we love Monaco.
Can
we do that?
Can we fake it?
Some guy's like, what do you mean do that? Can we just make Monaco inside the track?
Could we do that? But could we do it like McDonald's?
Europeans love this crap.
Yeah, they'll just eat it up.
Guys, we can't do this.
We can't
We are
do
on a
this.
probationary period here.
Yeah, this is
You
a
cannot
test.
do this kind of stuff.
They're gonna watch. People are gonna be watching this.
Yeah, you know people are watching this, right?
I do like the idea of like a play place for billionaires by McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the Miami
One of the
Grand
yachts.
Prix.
David Croft.
Yacht
And welcome
Bay.
along to the Billionaires Play Place, sponsored by McDonald's.
Then you go into the boats and they've got a bull pit.
of nuggets.
Yeah, why didn't they make the water a ball pit? That'd
That
be fun.
would have
That'd be
been-
way better.
Oh,
like if
kinda
that would have
could've
been if
fun.
Katy Perry had organized the
Right,
event.
but she'll be there.
She's a California girl.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, she's no Nicki Minaj.
They snubbed her city for this.
Your face. So serious. So we had a listener, follower, and Haas boy send in a message that we can answer pretty quick. He says,
Okay, let's see how quick. I'm gonna start timing it.
this is from Donald Fritz. He says, hey y'all, got a question for y'all. When do y'all I didn't realize he says y'all so much.
Amazing.
He's ready.
Thank
He's
you.
ready for this
He's
race.
definitely
man.
American. We love
Yeah,
it.
thank
hey y'all,
y'all.
got a question for y'all. When do y'all expect to see some 2022 Haas merch pre or post Miami Grand Prix?
Go.
I get on there all the time and it still says merch coming soon. I doubt before the Miami Grand Prix because
I'm going with after.
with after. So that gives us
I agree. Do you agree, Mike?
I agree.
Okay, stop. 15.5 seconds.
Okay, Donald. That
was pretty
See
fast.
if you can get a question answered faster than that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Lights out and away we go.
But it's a safe answer. It's definitely not going to be by this Friday.
I would be very surprised.
But if it's not then it could be any time after.
Yes.
They have years.
Come here for the good info.
Is this
people.
like Price is Right, where I have to guess a number that's just under? Is
yeah.
that okay? So after, for sure. Then.
Okay.
Well, this might give us a chance to start some own Haas Boy merch.
Yeah.
So
There's a void to be filled here.
there is.
The boys need their merch, and they're
The
not getting it from
boys.
Daddy.
No, Daddy Steiner is
They're not
letting
getting
us
it from
down
Daddy
right now.
Snyder.
I love this
Who's
idea.
Daddy Snyder?
Daddy Steiner.
I love this idea of Gunter just trying to design merch, but he's so busy being the team principal, he doesn't have time for the
And
merch.
just doesn't understand. He thinks that Christian and Toto are designing all the merch for them too, and he's just like, "How are they doing? Are they getting all this merch out?" And he's
love
just
it.
secretly suffering.
Christian, how do
you get all the merch out?
are you also doing Alpha Tower?
So soon.
So we've talked about the long straights. Mike is not impressed by the long straights. I'm kind of impressed by
I
long
love
straights.
it. I love it. If we're gonna have these races in America,
What is this assumption?
America is the road tripping nation.
Yeah,
it's
we
like
have
send
some
them on a
long
little
straights.
road trip, man. Like put them on a freeway for one of these races.
Yeah.
like show these people what America is about.
Yes.
I think
We're not
that-
about fake water, about driving long distances.
Exactly.
Why stop at fake water though? Why don't we put some fake semi trucks on the straightaway
Oh, yeah.
just to make it feel like an
Yeah,
American road
they don't
trip?
have those in Europe.
No, they're called lorries.
Put like big foam semi trucks that they have to weave around.
yeah.
It's a good idea.
Yeah,
Because
that-
at Monza,
the
they have
chicane.
those foam, like the exit routes, those like
Yeah.
foam chicane things.
That Sebastian Vettel just blasts through every time.
Dominated. Yeah.
His brakes were
Why
out.
did they think they could stop him
His
with
brakes
foam?
were out.
Oh, were they?
That's
Nah,
why you read
dude.
it.
Oh, I
Nah,
thought he was
dude.
just like, F it.
Yeah. It's like, they can't stop me with this foam.
Yeah.
They
What
don't
is
know how
this?
fast this car
What is
goes.
this, foam? They know how fast this car goes. I can go through tons of foam with this car.
They should, as tribute to, I think it's Fast and Furious, the first one.
Yeah.
They should have the track go underneath a semi truck.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. We don't need city officials planning this.
Yeah.
We need us planning this.
We need Michael Bay
and Steven Spielberg.
designing this track for no one thing: action.
That's what the Europeans are coming for.
Every corner should be dedicated to a different action movie.
Yeah.
It should be Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, Bad Boys 3.
Police
Then the
Academy
rest
1.
of- then the-
Police Academy 2.
Then the
Police
rest
Academy
of the
3.
corners are just Police Academies and Fast
Speed
and
1,
Furiouses.
Speed 2, Speed 3, Fast and Furious 1, Fast and Furious 2, Fast and Furious 3.
Introducing the reserve driver for next season, Sandra Bullock.
Okay, we've got Sandra Bullock going around Family Corner. Just a quick reminder that it's all about family.
We can get on Google right now and name those corners like they do on the other ones. And just start naming them Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys, by the time you hear this, get on Google. You're going to see that we've named every corner on Google Maps after the best of the American.
The best Michael Bay movies.
I genuinely love this idea.
Yo, let's go.
Because
Let's do
there
it.
is no names. Yeah, and again, like Imola, like we talked about, it is so historic. It has this, high consequence circuit with like walls close by and dirt gravel traps and things. And so you get these incredible names in Italian, and we're just gonna go through it. Be like, the acqua minerale, but it's like we're gonna go like acqua minerale. Okay, what is that?
Bad Boys 2 corner.
So right here is the water ravioli turn, and over here is gonna be the fake spectacle.
The chocolate croissant. We could name.
This is the McMuffin.
What other Google Maps part?
Well-
we could put a Dom Toretto garage in the pits.
Yeah.
The Dom Toretto garage.
Well, should we just,
That would be Luda from Too Fast, Too Furious. They did that one in Florida, did they not?
the Too Fast, Too Furious does take place in Florida.
And it's
Yeah.
Luda. Ludacris
is in. That's the first one he's in. Yeah.
Yeah, and he has a garage. So.
He does have a garage.
Ludacris's garage.
Yeah, but what was it called though? Wasn't
Yeah.
his name Tej?
It's Luda. I don't think anyone who watches those movies know the character's name besides Dom.
Dom Toretto.
And everyone else is just the actor.
Yeah.
Tyrese,
Right.
Ludacris,
Ja Rule.
Jason Statham, Charlize Theron.
No! Monica!
Oh, he plays Tej.
It is Tej.
Okay.
Okay, I
How
remember.
the heck did you know that?
Mike watches
What
one
are you-
every night.
What are you doing between recordings of episodes?
He just
Reassociating
one.
myself with pop culture.
he watches one every night, and he has his PlayStation 2 shifter controller, and he shifts every time someone shifts.
I have that next to my bed and my guitar here.
yeah, just shifting. That's a really good image.
We talked about previously the best Florida rappers.
Yes, we did.
I mean, lots of questions about that and
Yeah.
Formula One. Which ones are going to be at the race?
Obviously,
of them.
Florida and Pitbull.
Which ones are going to do the theme song for the race?
That'll be DJ Khaled, Miami resident.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want
that
a
seems
list?
Yeah, we should get a list
I'm
of
on
all
it.
the Florida
I'm on it.
rappers.
Notable Florida rap artists, hip hop artists include Florida, Pitbull, T-Pain,
Okay, yeah.
Trina,
T-Pain, that's great.
yeah, Two Live Crew,
He's like the Two Live Crew. That is amazing.
yeah, Vanilla Ice, Khaled,
Okay.
DJ Khaled, not the other one, Bobby Shmurda, Denzel Curry, and then finally, but definitely not leastly,
Yeah.
XXX Tentacion
Tentacion.
and
Rest in peace.
and definitely not last, but definitely not least, Lil Pump. Holy crap! Anyways, so yeah, a lot of amazing musicians, and and also, I mean, Nicki Minaj.
Here,
yeah, off the coast. She's from.
Yeah, she's off the coast.
Yeah.
She's coastal.
Are you ready for the list of supposeds?
So
Here's
is it
our-
what?
Supposed celebrities to be in attendance.
Oh, okay.
We are rumored to be seeing LeBron, Tom Brady,
Yeah.
Michael Jordan, David Beckham,
Yeah.
Dan Marino,
Okay.
Serena and Venus
Yeah.
Williams,
Yeah, okay.
Pharrell,
I mean,
Yeah.
Wyclef,
yeah,
Okay.
James Corden.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
I've seen him naked.
We're gonna see
That's a good story.
Chainsmokers,
No joke.
I've heard the story.
Post
It's good.
Malone,
Yeah.
Zed, and Tiesto. So you were right about some of these people.
Being there?
Yeah.
Well, those aren't Florida people though.
No.
Those are
but
just celebs.
Those are just people that are piggybacking off of their fame.
Yeah, they're all piggybacking off of Pitbull's fame.
Yeah.
Tiesto, and I cannot say this enough. Tiesto is piggybacking off of Pitbull's fame,
You can't say that enough.
and I know I've said it and many times.
Yeah. And
but I won't stop until it gets into y'all's heads.
every time we run down to the gas station, Parker is on one of these rants, and we have to listen to
And
it.
I can get into
Maybe
it.
maybe we'll put a playlist together of the best Florida songs.
Yes. Do it for me, if not for the listeners.
Okay, I'll make it and send it to you.
Yeah, well, stay tuned. We'll throw one of these. We'll throw this playlist up, a Spotify playlist.
But we're excited for the Miami Grand Prix.
Yeah,
I'm hoping Haas does great. Finishes both in the points, out for points, both of them.
I
They're
feel
getting
like Ferrari has to dominate this race.
Why?
Because it's Miami Vice. This is the Testarossa.
that seems like a stretch.
Testarossa, my friend.
I'm very excited for Miami. I lived in Miami. It's very near and dear to my heart. I'm very excited to see this happening, and it sounds like a great excuse to go
Cool.
visit next year.
Yeah, we're stoked. We're stoked.
Go Gators.
Okay.
Go Hurricanes. What the frick are you talking about? Or Dolphins or anybody else.
anyone but the Gators.
Go
Heat?
Go
Jaguars.
Penguins.
Jacksonville Jaguars. Shifting gears for the final time. Interesting stat put out. Who put it out this week? Was it Formula One?
It was, I think it was like an independent publication.
It was really interesting that they had put together a list of, or like just shown all the times someone had a 1-2 finish in the turbo hybrid era and the teams that had the most.
And it was quite shocking to see who had the most 1-2s
Yeah.
and by how much.
So we kind of wanted to talk about that. Yeah.
One of the things that seemed to me that really stood out it is the gap.
What's a 1-2 finish? I mean, that's what it is. First place and second place.
Exactly.
Same team.
And which is important for that World Constructor Championship that we referred to earlier.
Yeah, can you imagine both drivers getting that many points for your team? Yeah, that's
obvious domination if you can accomplish it.
Yeah,
right?
and just as one last note here, I don't know if this even matters, but watching a 1-2 is one of the funnest things to watch in F1. Like to see a Ferrari 1 followed by a Ferrari 2 or a McLaren 1 followed by a McLaren 2 like in Monza. It's really fun to watch.
Yeah, it seems
especially
like
if you weren't expecting it. If they weren't necessarily the top-rated drivers and teams of the day.
Right. With one exception, it's really fun to watch a 1-2.
Yeah, exactly. And I think with like sincerity, we clearly had one boss who is Papa Daddy of one team and saying, don't play nasty with driver number 1, please. And then we got a lot of 1-2s out of that team.
Yeah.
And so, but anyways, let's start at the bottom here of the list of 1-2 finishes starting in the turbo hybrid era, which began in 2014 and spanned until 2021.
Long period.
Long period. That's 7 years.
It's impossible to know how many years that was.
It's longer than most of the people that are listening have been alive. We have a really strong listenership of 8-year-olds.
Back to the meat of the business here. So,
give us the business.
Yeah, so 2014 through 2021 is actually 8 seasons. So for 1-2 finishes, the team at the bottom here is McLaren with 1.
Okay.
That was Monza.
And that was
Last
Monza
year.
Last year.
Max and I were in attendance.
Yep.
They did it because of us.
Well, yeah.
When they were doing the formation lap, we yelled, "Get a 1-2."
And they were like, received.
Zach Brown looked at us and
Had a twinkle in his eye.
winked and said, okay. And then McLaren with 1.
McLaren has 1. Red Bull is next up. Guess how many Red Bull has?
Oh, McLaren had a 1.
1.
Red Bull
is next.
was pretty decent.
In the turbo hybrid era. Yeah.
Pretty memorable 1-2s, though.
I'm going to say 4, 5.
Red Bull had 2.
Whoa.
In 8 years of racing, they had 2 1-2 finishes.
Jeez.
The first one came with Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo.
So far, Daniel has more than 50% of these 1-2 finishes.
He's been for both teams. And then the next Red Bull 1-2, Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, which again, this now includes 2022. That number includes 2022. But if we're counting 2021 to 2014, that means Red Bull was tied with McLaren at 1.
No, far out.
Isn't that wild?
That's wild.
Daniel Ricciardo
is in 2 of them.
2 of them. That's impressive for Daniel Ricciardo.
And then next is Ferrari. And Ferrari has 4.
Okay.
Now,
which really just shows how poorly they performed that entire
8 years
era.
Who was those drivers?
That would be a mix of Kimi and Sebastian and Charles and Sebastian.
Okay.
So
this next number is so crazy.
Well, and just to even just put this into perspective.
I want Max to guess. I don't know if you already looked. Oh,
Ferrari.
You did. Okay.
I can't remember the exact number, but
Ferrari is second in this list. So we know who number 1 is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the gap between Ferrari and Mercedes,
I think it's like 56, right?
is 53.
53 1-2s.
It's insanity.
And it's all because of how well Lewis drives.
And the inspiration
and his Instagram
hitting off
posts.
that and falling onto Bottas.
Well,
just
and
fueled
again,
it.
to elaborate a little bit more as well, because this spans all the way back to 2014, this also includes Nico Rosberg.
Uh-huh.
So it's not just Bottas. So this does include
but
another
either way,
number 2.
Lewis in car number 1.
Yes. Well, I mean, but through the era of Nico Rosberg and Lewis Hamilton, there was no number 2.
Oh, gotcha.
Which is part of the reason why it was such a fiery era between the 2 drivers.
Man, that is really crazy.
Those numbers
53.
are drastically different.
53 to 4.
To 4. It's more than 10 times. It's more than 11 times. It's a huge number. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And it reminds me that on Formula Dank and Reddit posts, it came up with the term hambot. Because after a while, it was just as the podium finishes is the last 3 letters, or the first letters of the last name, Ham and Bottas.
Yeah.
Like, it's a hambot. Like,
right.
Hamilton and Bottas finishing, and then a minute later, someone crosses the line.
Yeah, exactly.
I want an entire Netflix series about why Mercedes, the car I'm talking about, was so freaking good.
Yeah.
And why it's now just not. I just want to know that stuff.
It's
I know we
super
probably
interesting.
we won't for 30 or 40 years, but it's like, that's crazy. Like, that amount of dominance really says there was some incredible genius master engineering that went into that car. That's all it says.
Well,
it says nothing about those drivers, man.
Has there been other teams that have been that dominant in previous decades?
Not even into the level of scope that this was. Michael Schumacher also achieved 7 titles in his career. Not all of them with Ferrari, but most of them with Ferrari. And his legacy falls under an era where, yes, he had a very famous number 2, which is Rubens Barrichello. Rubens is an extremely fast driver. His career lasted just as long as like Fernando and some of these guys that we see right now. Rubens lived in the shadow of Michael's greatness, but also because he was pretty much contracted to be number 2. Where that one was a little different to Bottas. If Bottas could have overtaken Lewis in the championship at any point, he would have dominated and then become number 1 driver. But where Mercedes was built that rule around, well, whoever's leading the championship is number 1. And so that just never, ever happened for Bottas.
At any point, like even mid-season, they'll switch to number 1.
Yeah, if the championship is swinging in Bottas' direction.
Now, really quick, I noticed on the last
I was
2
gonna say,
races,
Parker showed this to me.
Lewis is number 2.
He is.
Which I was looking at the car and I saw the different. So for those that don't know, there's a number 1 and a number 2. The number 2 car always has a yellow camera.
And I didn't know that. And you showed me, and I was like, that's crazy.
And they were saying, yeah, Lewis is in the pits and they're showing a car with a yellow camera. And I was like, is he number 2 now? And that's crazy. Like, Lewis is now number 2 at Mercedes.
So, and I
Bizarre.
have heard an explanation of that, because it is something that like us regulars to F1 would notice, something like a yellow camera.
And also the brake. There's also a yellow strip along all the fenders.
Yeah.
And
So
on
where
the
Lewis,
rims.
I just am going to retire now. But no, Lewis has had a yellow helmet forever. We've had this conversation where he kind of had a snappy remark at Lando for the whole like, I've had a yellow helmet since you were born.
Man, he's cool.
But the yellow that he's using this year is more cohesive with the entire car. It's a little less on the gold side and a little bit more of that kind of like tennis ball yellow, green color. And so anyways, since he has that color and George Russell's number is a little bit more on that like dark blue side, the idea is that the cars are easy to differentiate by their numbers not being the same color, and that it matches more of the helmet and the driver's vibe. And so Lewis has that yellow in his helmet anyways, so they give him the yellow number and the yellow camera.
I don't know how they explain it
yellow on
compared to
George's car.
Compared to all the other teams. I don't know
Has
how they
that been
explain it.
since day 1 of the season?
Yep. So they have been doing that with his car since they decided to go with the yellow 44.
Interesting.
So it is something that they did have an explanation for, but traditionally speaking, the number 2 driver is the one that has the yellow camera.
Going back to these 1-2 finishes, it's crazy.
It is an insane number.
Is so high.
Well, and again, to speak to something that I think is an interesting component to like Lewis's legacy, right? This number shows sheer dominance.
Yeah.
And something that's really interesting, and where we do like to give, like we've talked about in the past, you can't be the greatest driver in history without a bunch of people also having doubts. The thing is with Lewis's legacy, in my opinion, with the dominance of the Mercedes car, is that the rules slightly change and pivot every year. There is a slight adjustment of what you could do last year that you can't do next year. And the cars evolve. So if you look at 2014 and you look at 2021, They do not look the same at all.
Yeah.
They're very different. So that means that car development over every single season matters, because you have to have a car that's competitive and continually advancing.
Yeah.
To Lewis's credit, and a lot of what people don't see is his garage work. The thing that he's doing with the team to be able to make that car consistently the fastest car on track. And so where that number reflects a huge, huge advancement that was consistent. The car didn't remain in a stagnant place that they then got caught at any point. They were always the ones that someone was trying to catch.
That's really cool. Yeah.
And so I think that does say a lot about what he did for the team, and likewise,
That's really cool.
how unbelievably good the engineering was at Mercedes.
And then my other thought with that is goes back to Daniel. I mean, he's a good driver.
Yeah.
We don't see him winning a lot.
Yeah.
But there's cool stats there that say, oh, he's been a consistent good driver in the past. He still is doing good for McLaren now. And on Top Gear, he has the fastest lap.
Yeah.
People like to hate him because he is becoming this huge celebrity, especially in America.
Ricardo?
Yeah.
Who's hating Ricardo?
I just see every once in a while posts like, oh, Daniel's not the driver he's cracked up to be, because, I mean, he's not podiuming all the time. The McLaren car is still catching up right now, but I think he's a great driver.
For sure.
I think
he
that
deserves it.
I think the doubts that are there are definitely people who are just, I don't know. I definitely don't agree with them. I think Daniel's definitely shown his stuff in multiple occasions. One of them being the Monaco race that he had.
Yeah, he's a great racer outside of F1.
Yeah. And he's also I think something that puts a target on you, and Lewis and Daniel both have this, which is being a great ambassador. When you're a big personality, people want to have you on their show. You gain a lot of fans. It kind of makes you a target.
People that are new to the sport and don't really know the history, like I don't know a lot of the history, but I've done my own kind of like dives into different areas. But people that probably don't know it probably just see Daniel Ricciardo as a celebrity, and they've only seen him win one race because he was at Renault and he didn't win at all. And then he came and he got ahead at Monza. So they're like, why the hype around this guy? Is it just because he's funny? And so I can see that kind of like being a thing against him.
Sure. Yeah. I think the thing that's interesting about even referring to Renault times, we'll talk about that just super fast, but like I just said about Lewis with Mercedes, do you think Esteban Ocon could have won a race with Alpine if Daniel hadn't been developing the car? So when Daniel and Esteban together at Renault, they built a car that then the next season was capable of winning a race.
Interesting.
So that's something to consider when you look at the value of a driver. One of the reasons Daniel was valuable to McLaren is because he had traits similar to Carlos, where the car development is something that they're great at. But I think Kevin is that exact same thing for Haas, and so likewise.
Who knows? We'll leave this show on a doubt. But been a great race this weekend. We're excited to see the results and chat it up next week. Anything else?
Let's go Miami. I had a friend ask me, how can you see a race in the cheapest way possible, since F1 tickets are unaffordable for a local race like Miami? And my only answer was, call the wealthiest person you know, and they probably have a friend there, because I actually don't know, especially where the Miami race.
Just look at the track and see if there's any public roads where you could just sit and catch a car go by.
Yeah.
Just stand on a freeway overpass. It's not that dangerous.
I'm kind of serious.
No, for real.
Yeah.
It's a huge track in the middle of Miami Gardens.
Yeah.
You can, and it's the first year. Like, I'm sure security's lax. So it's not that we're encouraging you to go jump fences. It's that we're telling you directly to go jump fences.
Otmar Schaffenauer said it, probably.
And we don't know if he didn't or didn't, which means that, who knows? He probably did.
Heat's still on, Otmar. All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeehaw.
Bye.
One small
podcast.
for man,
Haas Boys.
Petrus